Hi everyone, this is Sharon. Today I am sharing with you my latest design team project for Raindrop Lila. I had a request to make a Valentine's journal, and I knew that would be the perfect project for my next design team project because Lydia has put out a whole bunch of roses and Valentine's related kits lately, and so I couldn't wait to use them. For this journal, I have a tie that I used a couple different colors of cream sari silk ribbon, and then I embellished that ribbon just with a little bit of jewelry, and I tied those around. And then for my cover, I use this old book from, I believe it's 1907. I'm not sure exactly what the year is, but it's a nice old book, and it's in this beautiful deep red color that I thought would be just perfect for Valentine's Day. For the front, I embellished the cover with a couple of images. The rose image is from Lydia's Red Roses Ephemera kit, and this pretty wallpaper image behind it that I layered up with it is from her Charlotte's collection, and I just think they go so nicely and give that really vintage vibe with this cover. I've also added a little bit of lace around the side just to dress it up as well. For the inside covers, I chose this pattern paper. It's got some really tiny hearts on it, and that is from the Valentine's Day collection, I believe, in the neutral tones. So I put that on the front and back cover and then just added some labels on there. For the spine, I lined the inside of the spine with this antique French fabric, and I think it plays nicely with the papers. For the pages, the digital pages that I used in this journal, most of those come from the Rosie collection. There's quite a few kits. If you just search Rosie, you'll see all of them come up. And then also, let's see, the French and antique documents, I also use some of those images for my pages as well. So I incorporated those with a lot of vintage and antique book pages, and so we will start stepping through. On this first page, I embellished with a little bit of lace on the bottom. Here I've got this beautiful fabric for the pocket. And in there, I've got this antique calling card. And then I created this little piece of ephemera that has a couple of small pockets. And then this is a vintage Italian piece of paper that I got from Rachel at Rexy Creations, and I just folded that over to create a side tuck and added some lace and washi tape on the top. In there I stuck this little journaling card, and what I did was I cut 2 hearts and I adhered these 3 squares, decorative squares on top, and then I backed that with this pretty antique lace. And then on the back side, I just layered another piece of paper over the top to sandwich that lace in between, and it looks pretty nice with where you can see through the hearts. Here I've got some old fabric and did some decorative stitching on that page. On this page, I've got this corner tuck with this Eiffel Tower image and some old French fabric. And then in there, I just cut out this pretty heart from one of the ephemera kits, backed it with some French book page. And then also in that side tuck, I've got this journaling card that I made from one of the, I think it was from the Victorian Valentines kit. You do have to go, please check out all of her Valentine kits. They're just so gorgeous. And then I just put some sheer ribbon on the bottom of that. Here I've got some old book pages from a cookbook, and I tied those together. It's the center of the signature with a little bit of string, and I just have these little eyelets on the side. And then in the center of the signature, I've got a couple of belly bands. And in those belly bands, I created a couple of journaling cards from a piece of antique sheet music. I just tore it in half. I printed some of Lydia's fussy cut roses on there and added some of the fussy cut birds. And then I folded those up, so these are quite long. I just left them blank for lots of journaling space. And then I tucked in these narrow tags and did a little bit of paper punching on the tops. And this one's similar. I left the old rusty staple in there because that's the best part. And then this one has a bird also and this tag in there. Here I just added a little piece of bean dyed doily. It's very pale blue. And then I use that same doily up here as a corner tuck. And in there I tucked this antique postcard. I just added a little bit of sari trim on there. And then I also have this glassine bag, and in there I've got some of these little Dresden pieces. These I got from my friend Leslie. She's with Crescent Moon Journals. Thank you, Leslie. And I incorporated a number of these from her in this journal because they fit perfectly with the Valentine theme, I think. On this page, I took this picture of this beautiful lady and the flowers. I did some decorative stitching on the top and just created that corner tuck. And in there, I put this image of a calendar from 1895. I just decorated the back, and then I have this rose piece and did a little stenciling on the back of that. On this page, again, I created a side tuck and decorated the top of the page a little bit. And in there, I put this tag that I created. Here's another one of those Dresden pieces from Leslie. And that's the back of the tag. Here, I created a journaling card with this Polaroid image from one of Lydia's kits and just did a little decorating on the back side. On this page, I embellished a little bit with this piece of cut paper, and then I attached this little tag. And on the back side, it's got some roses. And then on this side, I created this pocket with some lace on the bottom. And then in there, I tucked some goodies. I cut out these pretty hearts, Valentine's hearts, and I backed them with some scrapbooking paper. And then I stitched around them, and I just added these strings at the bottom. I think that adds a lot to the look of them. And then also in that pocket, I've got an antique invoice from early 1900s. On this page, I clipped on this little tag that I made, and this is some old trim on the top. And then I've got a vintage Valentine. This one is To Marilyn from Walter. On this page, I added a piece from an antique collar and a little button. On this page, in the center, I took a doily, an avocado dyed doily, and I folded it over. It's quite large, and then that created a couple of tuck spots. And then in the center, because this is quite delicate, it is the center of the signature, I just reinforced that with some punched vellum, little strip, just to add some reinforcement. And then in these pockets, on this side, I have this treated napkin. It's quite sheer, and I ran that through my embossing machine. I got that idea from Francesca at Junk Journal Joy. She did that in one of her recent videos, and I just thought it looked kind of neat. And then I've also got this picture of this lady in her beautiful hat. And then this piece, which is another piece of ephemera. And then I've got that backed with some old French book page. And then on this side, I've got this journaling piece. And then on the back, I did some stenciling in very pale pink. And then I just added this card on the back, again with some of that treated napkin. Here I used one of the, I believe this is from the Victorian Valentines, really pretty image. I just trimmed it up at the top with some blue seam binding, and then in there I tucked an antique French letter from 1876, and I also made this journaling card. I added a little kind of a cotton fabric label, and then I also backed it with some pretty fabric, and then just pinned on a blank piece of paper for writing. I've got an antique book page. I just did a little stitching to add this tab and stamped some hearts on there. And then on this side of the page, I clipped on a piece of old fabric and this linen piece that I got from Rachel at Rexy Creations, and that's stamped on there as well. On this page, I embellished the page with a little bit of metallic paper. I just love this image. And then I just added a little label on the bottom. On this page at the top, I just trimmed it up with some antique lace. This page, I stitched on a red velvet belly band, and then in there I tucked a little booklet that I made with this pretty rose image. And I've got this fabric label on there. And then inside I've used some copies of old love letters that I have between Adeline and Felix. And then this is an old onion skin book page that I recycled, and then I just love these images. These are from, I think it's called Vintage Romantic Photos. Another love letter, another vintage romantic photo, and that's the back side. Here I've got an old German book page, and I just did some stenciling with paste on the top. On this side of the page, I created a pocket, and in there I tucked this tag. Here I created a side tuck with one of these beautiful floral images, and then in there I've got this tag. I just put some old lace on the top. And this is a belly band on the back side, so you could tuck something in there. And then I also tucked into that pocket some ledger paper from 1879. And this center section is also a ledger sheet from 1905. I just folded the sides in, so I've got a little tuck spot here, and I've got another couple of Polaroid images from one of Lydia's kits. Beautiful. And then another vintage Valentine, and this one is to Denise from work. In this pocket, I created one of these little document holders, and I used a copper clip to keep it shut on top. And what I did was I added some laces, a doily. This beautiful old antique lace on top is just gorgeous. And then there's this doily and some old papers and fabrics. So it's more than just paper, it's also fabric and laces. And then I backed it with this piece, which I left open on the top. I didn't fold it over so that you could see that it is a February date book, a French one. And I used the page that had the 14th St. Valentine's on there. And then I tied these up on the side with some twine. So I went sideways with my ties. And then this back side is a music sheet image. Here again, I've got another red velvet belly band. I stapled this beautiful rose image to the top of the page. And then in there, I tucked this antique French postcard. On this page, I added some fabric and a wax seal. And then at the top, you can see some slow stitching that came through from the other side of the page. So on this side, I took a piece of fabric, and I was inspired by Gabriella at Penny and Rose Paperie. On one of her recent journals, she had some fabric that was kind of ruched across the page. And I think she had it tacked down either by hand or machine, and it just looks so pretty that I thought I'd try something similar. So I did some cantha stitching on the top just to hold that all down. And then this page is an antique invoice from 1911. And here on this side, I took one of the images and used it as a corner tuck. And then in there, I've got this library card that I embellish with some ribbon and sari trim. And on the back, I printed this floral image. And I just took my color pencils and colored it in very lightly to give it a little bit of color. And then I also have this journaling card. Just love this image. That is also from that Romantic Photos, Vintage Romantic Photos kit. Here I've got a couple of onion skin pages from 1900, and I used those as pages and created some pockets on those pages. And then in the pockets I've got this card of this couple on the beach with their vehicle. And then over in this pocket, I've got a bride. And what I did was I fussy cut some of the flowers out from one of the kits and just placed those on her photo. And then I Mod Podged the whole thing with some glossy Mod Podge. And then I also took an antique wedding invitation image and attached that to this old book page. For the center of the signature, again, I did some reinforcing this time with fabric, just because I didn't think the onion skin would work very well to be tying in the center. And then on these strings in this signature, I've got a couple of charms. On this side of the page, I did some stenciling with ink. And then that's another one of the pages. And then over to the side of this page, I have this tracing paper image. I printed on the tracing paper. And then underneath there, I just have an offcut of one of those rose images. On this side of the page, I created another little corner tuck. And then in there, I've got these vintage tickets that I just clipped together with this old pin. Here I created a corner tuck with a piece of lace. And in there, I've got this vintage image. This is the sophomore class of 1956. Just add a little bit of trim to the corner. And then I also have this piece. It's some old receipts from 1873. On this page, I clipped this card. I took one of Lydia's images and waxed it and crinkled it to give it kind of this old oil painting look. And then I just mounted that on some straw paper and then matted it again on this orange paper. It's an old book page actually. And embellished the back, and then I just added a little lace down here. This is what this page looks like. On this page, I created a little side tuck just by stitching down this piece. And then in there, I've got this little heart. And I did some paste stenciling on the back and applied this ledger book image. And then I've also tucked in this old French letter. And this one is from 1830. It's quite old and it's got some really beautiful writing on the inside. Here I used a vintage envelope and created a pocket by, I opened the envelope up and then I wrapped it under the page so it comes back up on this side as a pocket. And then on the other side as well, the back side, I did the same thing. And so that just kind of creates this little corner pocket. I did some stamping on there, and I love how this floral image comes through that window. And then in there, I tuck this journaling card. It's got a little side tuck on it, so you could stick something in there, and I back this with some piano paper. I embellished this pocket and left the stamps showing through on that envelope, and then in there, I put this little booklet that I made. This cover is actually the back cover of kind of a little financial, personal income financial booklet. And I used it because I had this nice red interior. I just added some fussy cut flowers to the corner there, and then took a couple of pages from this book and used those in this booklet. Some lace and some tissue paper. That's the back. Oh, and I embellished the front with this image. On this page, I have this original photo of this couple. They look quite adventurous to me. And I just have this little card tucked behind there. This page is from an antique bird book, and it's got this beautiful bird plate attached to it. And then this was the tissue paper that was in front of that. And then this page, this is a skylark, so this is the description of the bird on this page. And then on the strings here, I just attached a couple of vintage stamps. Here on this pocket, I just added this little heart image. And then the background is this lace image. And then in there, created this envelope from one of Lydia's envelope kits. I think it's called Vintage Envelopes. And I added my own vintage stamp to the front. And then my own wax seal on the back. And in the envelope, I put these vintage photos of this couple and these people on their wedding day. And I also have this tag that I made. This is some stencil paste. That's the back. Okay, and then on this side, it's the other side of that envelope. And so I've got another tuck on this side of the page. On this one, I did some stenciling with paste again, just across the top. And then in there, I've got this journaling card that I made. Added the doily to the corner, did some stitching on there. And I backed that with fabric, this kind of embroidered fabric. And I just thought that would be a fun place to be able to clip some favorite laces and fabrics and things. And then also in that pocket, I've got this sheet of vintage stationery. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's got the faintest gray lines for writing. I just love that piece. It feels really good too. On this side of the page, I've got a side tuck that I embellished with this fabric label. And then in there, I've got this antique postcard. And then some antique French book pages. And I just reinforced those with some Amity Bloom washi tape. And then on this back page, I've got a couple little cards that I made. This one. And on the back cover, I put a book plate. And that is my Valentine's journal. I hope you enjoyed that flip through. Until next time, bye-bye.